Today is Wednesday, May 3rd. We'll tell you how and why America's military is stepping in at the U.S. Mexico border. Also, the latest epidemic declared that can be cured with more social connection. Plus, celebrities are now joining Hollywood writers on the picket lines while some hit shows are put on hold. Another once popular home goods chain is going under. And we'll tell you why tech rivals Apple and Google are teaming up. Those stories and more news in today's episode. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. More American troops are heading to the U.S. Mexico border. 1,500 more Marines and Army soldiers are going to the southern border, on top of the roughly 2,500 National Guard troops who are already there. For now, the new group is only expected to be deployed for 90 days before military reserves or contractors can step in. Their duties will include helping with transportation, detecting narcotics, data entry, and more. The idea is that will free up border officials for more critical law enforcement missions. This comes as the government prepares for a sharp increase in border crossings once officials can no longer turn people away under Title 42. Remember, Title 42 is that rule that, because of COVID-19, has been letting U.S. border officials refuse entry to most undocumented adults right away without giving them a legal hearing. But next week, when the public health emergency ends, Title 42 goes away as well. And with that, the top Customs and Border Patrol official says he expects as many as 10,000 migrants to cross into the U.S. every day. That would almost double the daily average last recorded in March. A manhunt involving more than 250 law enforcement officers, the FBI, U.S. Marshals, and an $80,000 reward has finally come to an end. Authorities say they arrested the man accused of killing 5 people after his neighbor apparently told him to stop shooting his AR-style rifle so close to his home. As recently as yesterday morning, authorities said the suspect could be anywhere, and they had no leads. But then a tip came into an FBI line yesterday afternoon, which led to the man's arrest. Officials say they found him hiding under a pile of laundry in a closet of a home about 20 miles from his own. But they wouldn't say whether he knew the people who lived there or if anyone was there at the time. Immigration officials say the alleged shooter is a Mexican national who has been deported 4 times since 2009. Now, he's charged with 5 counts of murder and is being held on a $5 million bond. An international effort to crack down on dangerous drugs on the dark web ended with a record number of arrests and seizures. The operation started back in 2021 and spanned the U.S., Europe, and South America. In the end, authorities arrested nearly 300 people. They seized nearly 2,000 pounds of drugs, plus weapons, cash, and cryptocurrency. The U.S. Attorney General says traffickers turn to the dark web to sell illegal drugs. And even if they're advertised on the dark web as brand name pharmaceuticals, pills can be counterfeit and laced with potent synthetic opioid fentanyl. That's a lot of what authorities found in this operation. And it's especially dangerous, fueling a U.S. drug overdose crisis that killed a record 107,000 people in the U.S. in 2021. So on top of making busts, federal law enforcement authorities have started reaching out to people who have bought narcotics on the dark web to warn them about their purchases. The U.S. Surgeon General just declared the latest public health epidemic: loneliness. In a new advisory, Dr. Vivek Murthy says about half of American adults say they've experienced loneliness and that it poses health risks as deadly as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. Dr. Murthy's report cites research that found lonely people have a greater risk of stroke, heart disease, depression, and dementia. And with that, the premature death risk goes up by nearly 30%. So why are so many people lonely now? Well, research shows the feeling has increased as Americans have become less engaged with religious organizations, community groups, and even their own family members in recent decades. And then the crisis got much worse when COVID-19 spread, prompting schools and workplaces to shut down and forcing millions of people to isolate. All the while, technology has changed how people interact with each other. Now, the Surgeon General wants to turn things around. He's calling on workplaces, schools, community organizations, technology companies, and others to make changes to make the country more connected. To be clear, the new declaration is just meant to raise awareness about this issue. It does not unlock any federal funding or programming. Australia is cracking down on what it calls an epidemic of its own: recreational vaping, introducing one of the strictest new anti-vaping policies in the world. The government says it's going to eliminate products like e-cigarettes, even ones that don't contain nicotine. Specifically, it's banning all disposable vapes and stopping the sale of any vaping products in retail stores. Prescriptions will now be necessary for the few vaping products still legal for therapeutic use, and they'll have to come in pharmaceutical-like packaging. There will also be restrictions on flavors, colors, nicotine concentrations, and more. In the U.S., the CDC says e-cigs are less harmful than regular cigarettes, but still contain harmful substances, so shouldn't be considered safe either. Here, the sale of vaping products is still legal in retail stores, but regulated. More news is still ahead, but first, I want to share about our new sponsor, CastleFlex. I'm sure you've heard of the benefits of stretching, so I'm here to tell you about a device that I found makes my stretching even more effective and its benefits more pronounced. Even after the first time I used the CastleFlex, I could tell a difference. And the more I use it, the better my whole body feels. My husband and I both have dealt with some back issues recently, so we've needed something to really work. The CastleFlex has helped so much. Think of this device as WD-40 for achy bones and tight muscles. And really, using the CastleFlex before you get hurt or deal with any issues is probably one of the best options. Plus, it's the same price as just 1 or 2 massages or chiro sessions, and yet it can be used daily for years. They even have a 2-week money-back guarantee. And now we have a code for our community to get a discount. So take advantage by going to castleflex.com. That's castle, like where a king lives, and flex, but with 2 X's. And be sure to use our code NEWS10 for 10% off. Again, that's 10% off with the code NEWS10, NEWS10 at castleflex.com. As expected, thousands of writers in the entertainment industry walked off the job yesterday. And with that, work has stopped on a few hit shows. Those include Cobra Kai, Yellow Jackets, Abbott Elementary, and more. Late-night shows have also gone dark. The Tonight Show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Late Show, and Saturday Night Live have all announced they'll be airing reruns for the foreseeable future. Same with daytime TV staple, The Talk. Writers say they're fighting for more compensation on streaming shows and more staffing, among other things. TV and movie studios say they've already made generous offers and that they can't do much more right now, given the fact that they have been dealing with struggles in the advertising market. But a lot of big-name stars have come out to say they're on the writer's side. Some even join them on the picket lines, like actors Rob Lowe and Zach Cherry, comedian Wanda Sykes, and actresses Frances Fisher and Sara Ramirez. It looks like there are fewer jobs available right now. The latest government data shows the number of job openings in the U.S. has dropped to its lowest level in nearly 2 years, and layoffs are rising sharply, nearing levels we saw before the pandemic started. There are still way more people looking for work than there are open jobs. Some analysts say this latest report is just evidence things are getting a little more normal. And the real question is whether the job market stops at normal or keeps cooling to the point of a recession. By the way, it's not just the tech industry that's driving the uptick in layoffs anymore. Now there are substantial cuts in healthcare, construction, transportation, leisure, and hospitality, and more. The finance industry could be taking a big hit soon, too. News outlets like Reuters say Morgan Stanley is planning to cut about 3,000 jobs in its second round of layoffs in just 6 months. Investment banks like Morgan Stanley have been dealing with a downturn as investors are growing more cautious, citing volatile markets and rising interest rates. Speaking of which, the Federal Reserve is expected to announce yet another interest rate hike today to further slow the economy and bring down inflation. For the second time in just the last couple of weeks, a major home goods chain has announced it's starting to wind down its business. After 49 years, Tuesday morning announced it's closing all of its stores in the coming weeks. Already, the chain has scaled way back. About 3 years ago, there were 700 locations in the U.S. Now it's just 200. Tuesday Morning filed for bankruptcy twice in the last few years and said it was restructuring just a few months ago. Well, now the company is just calling it quits. The store says it's selling off the rest of its inventory with going out of business sales now. Similar sales have also started at Bed Bath & Beyond and Bye Bye Baby locations as they plan to shut down as well. Rivals Apple and Google are teaming up to tackle a problem that's been affecting both of their customers. They want to prevent lost item trackers like Apple's AirTag from being used to track people without their permission. It expands on something Apple unveiled already: detection features that let people know if there's an unfamiliar AirTag in their area. Basically, the idea is that could stop someone from being able to hide a tracker on your car or in your purse, for example. That's already available on iPhones. Now the companies say Android phones will get the same ability. And the change will allow other Bluetooth trackers, like those made by Samsung, Tile, and Eufy, to build similar iPhone and Android alert features, so they'll be considered industry-wide standards. Streaming service Peacock has found a new way to run ads without making you watch commercials. It's called Must Shop TV. It lets viewers buy products that appear on shows and movies. For example, the knives and cutting boards featured on Top Chef. You'll see a QR code pop up on the TV screen, so if you're interested in buying one of the shoppable products, you can do so by scanning that code on your smartphone. And in the future, Peacock tells TechCrunch viewers will be able to shop using just their remote controls. But if you don't want to see the option to buy products, you can also opt out of that. Roku has a similar format as part of a partnership with Walmart, but the difference is Roku's shoppable ads are presented on top of a commercial, not within the content you're watching. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. We'll explain, but first, this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Reports have shown that burnout is on the rise. So if you've ever felt stretched too thin at work or at home or both, you're not alone. I know I have, and yet I think it's important to do something about it. Try to figure out why and learn new strategies to lower all that stress and exhaustion. Therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life, which is important not only for you, but also the people you love and want to support. I found that sometimes this meant saying no more often to unnecessary work things, or letting go of needing to do things a certain way at home, or getting more creative and intentional with my overall schedule. So if you're thinking of starting therapy to help you feel more like the best version of yourself, BetterHelp is an online-only, convenient option that matches you with a licensed therapist. You simply fill out a brief questionnaire to get started, and you can switch therapists anytime. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/newsworthy to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. So there's a growing community online of people considered overemployed, meaning they're secretly working multiple jobs at once. The trend started with the rise of remote work, and now it's really taken off because of artificial intelligence. Vice News spoke to a few workers holding 2 to 4 full-time jobs with the help of AI programs like ChatGPT, DALL-E, and Midjourney. One online marketer said ChatGPT was actually the only way he was able to get a second job, since he even used it to write cover letters and job applications. And now that he's actually working, he says ChatGPT does about 80% of it for him. Of course, we're talking about the AI chatbot. There were similar stories from a tech worker and university lecturer. ChatGPT is doing things like making business plans, writing blog posts, filling out Excel spreadsheets, and coming up with pitch ideas for certain product releases. Many more workers share how they're getting their jobs done with AI on Reddit's Overemployed forum that has 172,000 members. All right, thank you so much for joining us as part of your daily routine and for supporting us by sharing the show. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.